Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto unlocked 3 powerful bloodlines and got older women's harem? Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Chunin Exam I. Team 8, consisting of Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Uzumaki Naruto, were currently walking at the main streets of Konoha. 2 genins were looking at their teammate who apparently hadn't spoken or reacted to any of their discussions. He had been quiet ever since they've walked out his favorite ramen shop. This sucks. The genin with a fury jacket spoke. He looked at his teammate, Naruto, yet again he hadn't reacted. Oi Naruto, are you okay? You look like you've eaten an expired ramen. Kiba added. Yes Naruto, what is wrong? Hinata asked. I'm fine. I was just thinking about something. Naruto replied. Truth be told, he hadn't seen or heard his Junin sensei for almost 3 days straight since Sandaime gave Team 7 and 8 a 3 days rest after their mission back at Wave Country. If you say so, come on, we don't want to be late at our meeting. With that statement, Kiba and Hinata sprinted up to the roofs. Naruto, on the other hand, was left standing on his place. He hadn't moved or something. Was he nervous? Was it because after 3 days he'll be able to see his Junin sensei? Or was it, he's nervous because of what had happened 3 days ago back at the hospital? After 5 seconds, it only registered to his mind that both of his teammates were gone. He immediately ran up to the roofs. One hour ago at the Hokage Tower, people ranging from Tokubetsu Junins, Elite Junins, and Chunins, were gathered at the Hokage's office. All Junin instructors please come in front. The Sandaime said. Soon, 3 Junins walked at the front, namely, Hitaki Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, and Yuhi Kurenai. Now, among of your teams, who will gladly partake in the coming Chunin exam? Sandaime asked. Sarutobi Asuma first spoke since he's at the far left of the 3 Junins. I would like to enter Team 10, which consists of Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino, under the name of Sarutobi Asuma. The chain smoker said. Seeing it was Kurenai's turn, she spoke. Team 8 consists of Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Uzumaki Naruto, under the name of Yuhi Kurenai. The Genjutsu mistress said, direct to the point as always. Soon, Kakashi spoke. Team 7 consists of Aburame Shino, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke, under the name of Hitaki Kakashi. Konoha's copy Nin said. Very well then, you're all dismissed. Sandaime said. Once all the said ninjas were gone, a figure came out from the shadows. Hey there old goat, long time no see. The figure said. Ah, Ayeka, a pleasure to see you again, have you been hiding all along behind your genjutsu? Sandaime said. Yes I was. Are you going to stay here, in the village, permanently? The Hokage asked. Not sure. Would you like me to reinstate you as a leaf ninja? He said. Ayeka said, acting like she was deep in thought and said. Okay. Sandaime smiled but then frowned. What rank shall I give you? You're practically cage level. You could easily take my job without a sweat. Sandaime said with a grin. You're flattering me, old goat. Just put me in Anbu and I'll be fine. Ayeka said. Are you going to see Naruto-kun? Sandaime said. Nah, not yet, Ayeka said as she poofed away from the Hokage's office, leaving the old goat back to his undying paperwork. Present time at Training Ground 19, Naruto came, panting. He looked around at the said training ground only to find himself alone. None of his teammates were there, or were there. He heard a poof from behind. Immediately, he turned around. There, before him was his Junin sensei, Yuhi Kurenai. Meanwhile, at the top of a certain tree, Kiba and Hinata were there. In front of them was Kakashi, who was looking at the people below them. Kakashi-san, what are you doing? And why did you pull us up here? Kiba asked. Keep your voice down, I can't hear them. Kakashi said. Kiba was counting mentally whether if he should whack this man before him, but then again he just shrugged it off. Meanwhile, two people at the clearing hadn't spoken with each other. No one even took an initiative for a conversation until fate destined them to be. On top of them, they could see the heavens were starting to rain. They both seek shelter at a certain tree. Naruto was thankful his wings were really handy at times like this. From where they stood, Naruto's wings gave warmth to the said woman next to him as the rain started to fall freely at the earth below. Anyo, sensei, I'm sorry about, what happened back at the hospital 3 days ago. Naruto said, more like a whisper in Kurenai's opinion. He's sorry. Kurenai thought. It's alright, I know it was an accident. Kurenai said as she looked at the blonde next to her. From what she saw, Naruto was looking down as if he hadn't heard that he was already forgiven. Naruto, Kurenai called. Hi, sensei, Naruto said as he looked at Kurenai. I'm sorry for not acting like a sensei like I'm supposed to be. Kurenai said. Naruto, on the other hand, looked at her with wide eyes. What's to say sorry for? Naruto asked with a grin. Naruto, you know what I'm talking about. Let's take for example, back at Wave Country, was I any help to any of you? Kurenai asked. You were there beside me, sensei. You're the first and last person I've seen through those times, and every time I opened my eyes you were there, Kurenai sensei. That was a great help for me. Naruto said as he looked at the heavens above. Kurenai was smiling as she looked at the young blonde next to her. Thank you, Naru-kun. She said. Naruto gave her one of his famous fox grins and then looked at the heavens above. Look, the rain's gone, he said. They both looked up and saw a rainbow starting to form. It mixed with the sunlight as it shined after the rain. It was a beautiful scene, they both admitted it. It only took them at least 5 minutes to enjoy the scenery just when they heard a very loud crack from above. Immediately, they both moved away from the falling debris and people. Before them were Hatake Kakashi, Hyuga Hinata, and Inuzuka Kiba. What the heck happened to the three of you? Naruto asked. Kiba started. We were trying our stealth skills, but unfortunately we fail miserably. Hinata finished. Both Naruto and Kurenai looked at them, then to Kakashi, obviously wanting an answer as well. There was this crow and it was picking on my hit I ate and I tried to follow it, you see, Kakashi said. Right. Naruto said. Aren't you supposed to be with your students? Kurenai asked. Right you are. I'm going now. Kakashi said as he poofed away from them. Naruto just sighed and shook his head. Sensei, what are we going to do today? Do we have a mission? Kiba asked, changing the topic. No missions. I have something for the three of you. Kurenai said as she brought out 3 pieces of paper which turned out to be a Chunin exam permit. There's an upcoming Chunin exam, I've entered the 3 of you. So, don't lose that permit, got that? Kurenai said. Yes ma'am, Kiba said while Naruto did the good guy pose. Hinata and Kurenai smiled at the comical pair. Let's go to Ichiraku's to celebrate. Naruto said, which earned him a nod from Kiba, a chuckle from Hinata, a bark from Akamaru, and a smile from Kurenai. On their halfway to the said ramen stand they heard a familiar shout from the corner of a street just near to their spot. Ah, let go of me. A young boy's voice cried out. If you say so, a male teenager's voice said. Teammate managed to saw this guy through the boy, Konohamaru, near the trash can, but someone came just to catch the boy in time. Konohamaru looked up and saw his savior. Naruto. I'll ask you nicely, apologize to my friend. Naruto said as he set down Konohamaru. Oh yay, what if I don't? The boy with a face paint said. Just before Naruto could spoke, everyone heard a sound of swirling sand just above the tree. Kankuro, apologize to them. A voice rang out. The said boy, Kankuro, looked frantic. He just sighed and apologized to Konohamaru and to Naruto. Who are you? The boy with red hair asked. Both of his companions looked with wide eyes. Gaara never asked someone's name before. The blonde Kunoichi thought. Gaara, what are you doing? Kankuro thought. Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto, and you are. Naruto said as he took a couple of steps in front of them. Sabaku no Gaara, I'll be expecting you in the Chunin exam, Uzumaki Naruto. Gaara said. Both Sand siblings swore they saw Gaara's lips form a small smile, but it quickly faded away. They saw this Naruto walk to them, waiting for their names to be said. Sabaku no Kankuro, Gaara's older brother. Kankuro said. Sabaku no Tamari. The blonde-haired Kunoichi said. She saw the blonde boy bowed as courtesy and said. Nice to meet you all, Gaara-san, Kankuro-san and, Tamari-san, Naruto said as he smiled to them. Kankuro, on the other hand, could swear his sister was blushing at the said blonde boy who was before them. He looked at his sister, Tamari, then to Naruto who was back with his teammates and Junin-sensei, not even noticing Tamari's stare at the blonde boy. Kankuro smiled and held her big sister over the shoulder. Love at first sight, Tamari. Kankuro whispered. Gaara, on the other hand, was back from being stoic as he watched the blondes retreating back. There was something inside of him that he felt, something feral just like him. He had thought. Hey Kit, that boy Gaara, I feel something in him. It's the same feeling when we first saw that girl Haku. Kyuubi said through their mental link. Yay, me too, it's like he's carrying something demonic. Naruto replied as they continued to walk past the streets. Piece of advice, keep your guard up. Kyuubi said. Yay, I'll do that, I have to go now. Naruto said as he cut the mental link. The next day, it was early in the morning. Many Chunin hopefuls reached the gates of Konoha. Some came from the hidden village of the rain, sand, and sound. Team 8 noticed a couple of familiar participants just around the hallways. They too were looking at the other genin teams. Naruto noticed the sand nins they've met yesterday. Hey, where are you going? Kiba asked. I'll just greet a couple of people. Naruto said. Team 8 including Kurenai saw where was Naruto going, to the sand siblings. Tamari saw the blonde boy they've met yesterday. He was walking at their direction. Kankuro noticed where was Tamari looking. He just remained calm and waited what could happen next. Good morning. Naruto greeted with a smile on his face. The only ones who greeted him were Kankuro and Tamari. Gaara, apparently, was quiet behind the other two siblings along with Baki, the Sand Nin's Junin instructor. Tamari saw Naruto walked up to her, his face closing to hers. Now, everybody's attention was drawn to them. They could see Naruto's face coming closer and closer to this blushing, blonde Kunoichi. Most of the people were anticipating at what could happen next. Will he kiss her in front of everybody else? Even Gaara and Baki were watching. Not to mention, the other members of Team 8 with their Junin instructor, Yuhi Kurenai, were also watching. By this point, Tamari could be seen as red as a tomato. She was looking at the blonde cerulean eyes, his face closing every second of the time. 4 inches. 3 inches. 2 inches until you have dango sauce on your chin. Naruto said as he pointed out the said dango sauce with his index finger. After a couple of minutes, the sound of nothingness could be heard. Everybody was too coped up whether this blonde boy was going to kiss this other blonde girl. But then he just said, "There's dango sauce on your chin," and left the blonde girl to her feet. Some people were looking at the blonde boy and then to the girl. The blonde boy, Naruto, was walking back to his team while the blonde girl, Tamari, was looking like a statue on the viewer's perspective. Some whispered, did she anticipate for a kiss? Or, That girl got it bad, big time. Kiba and Hinata were looking, staring, glaring at Naruto. What? Naruto asked. How did you do that? Kiba asked, but his question got dumped when Hinata interrupted. You've practically embarrassed Temari-san, Naruto. Hinata said. BBB, but I didn't do anything. Naruto said, but then he realized that Kurenai was gone. Hey, have you seen Kurenai-sensei? Naruto asked. She walked away just when you were about to kiss that sand nin. Kiba said. I wasn't gonna kiss her, I swear. Naruto said. This caused some people to look at their direction. Currently, inside room number 301, Genin teams were waiting for the said exam to start. It was until they heard a loud crash at door revealing two Tokubetsu Junins, namely, Mitarashi Anko and Morino Ibiki. The said scarred man was muttering something about a crazy woman, but he just shrugged it off. The Genin teams were waiting for them to talk, but they just stood there silent, staring at the young Genins before them. It was as if they were trying to make them quit just before the exam starts. Some were frightened, nervous, and stoic. But it only got worse when two female ANBUs came. There was something about the other Anbu, though. She wasn't wearing any animal mask unlike her fellow Anbu. The said mysterious Anbu had a black mask, no markings, not a single color except black, a shiny black to be exact. Naruto was currently staring at the black masked Anbu. There was something about her that was strangely familiar. He only stopped looking at the said Anbu when he felt a strong pain in his head. Impossible, he thought as he looked back at the black masked Anbu. It is her. Naruto, you okay, man? Who are you staring at? Kiba asked as he tried to look where Naruto was looking at. The black masked Anbu, Kiba thought. I'm fine. Though, never mind. Naruto said. After a couple of minutes, two familiar people walked inside the room, namely, Momochi Zabuza and Haku. Sorry we're late. The half-masked man said while Haku just smiled. Ibiki looked at the black-masked Anbu, and the said Anbu walked in front of a Genin. The Genin, who apparently came from the Rain Village, was looking nervously at the Anbu before him. He could even see his reflection on the black mask. He didn't even know he was already pinned to the wall. He looked at the side, but the ANBU's hand was blocking his sight, her palm connecting to the wall. The Genin could hear some unknown sound coming from the ANBU's hand. He saw it move away slowly, but the thing that caught his eyes was a sword coming out of the wall. The said Genin was terrified while the others were stuck from where they stood. Maybe that's the reason why she doesn't bring any weapons, because she could make one in no time. Ibiki thought. So, is there anyone of you would like to quit now before the exam starts? Ibiki asked. Automatically, some Genin teams walked out room number 301, including the Rain Nins. Only the Sand, Sound, and the Leaf Genin teams were left to take the exam. Let's begin, Ibiki said with a maniacal grin on his face. Soon, terror seemed to have walked inside the room. The killer intent being emitted by the examiners were enough to make some of the Genins frightened. They were still inside room 301. The Genins saw the other examiners walked out the room, leaving Ibiki, Haku, and Zabuza. Some Genins thought it would be a written exam since they were inside a classroom. The Genins saw their examiners gave some test papers to the Genins. Naruto looked at the said paper, which stated, "This is a trial run. After 20 minutes you will have to run and escape this building. Think it could be possible? If you got caught, you and your team will fail. Time starts now." Naruto read the paper over and over again. Was that a joke? There's a Tokubetsu Junin in front of us. 2 Junins, not to mention the other Junin as a Jinchuriki. Was there a loophole to this test? If we don't run, we'll also fail. But if we run outside this room, what will happen? Naruto thought. The 20 minutes was closing in. They could see the examiners getting themselves ready for whatever ruckus this group of genins could possibly do. Everybody was looking tense, well, some were. Naruto looked at the sand genins. He was surprised that Gaara was looking at him. His eyes were different from the ones Naruto first saw. It changed drastically. Naruto turned and looked at Team 7. He was once again surprised to see Sasuke looking at him, similar to Gaara's. Naruto turned again. This time, he noticed both Team 10 and Team Guy were waiting calmly for the 20 minutes. Probably they already had a plan for this try run, just like Team 8. Kiba smirked when Naruto was about to do Phase 1 of their plan. The Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Soon, the room was filled with at least 50 Bushins making their way to the exit. At the very same moment, Kiba and Hinata hanged to look like Naruto while the other genin teams took this opportunity to escape as well. The examiners only opened one stairway for every floor, making it difficult for the genins to navigate which path they should take. The hallways were like a maze connected to a single exit. Currently, Team 8 was running at the hallways of the third floor. Suddenly, they stopped. In front of them were two elite Junins, namely, Maida Guy, the Green Beast, and Sarutobi Asuma, the Chain Smoker. Answer our question and we shall let you pass. If you got a wrong answer, I'm afraid you'll have to deal with us. Asuma said. Give us the question then. Naruto said. How many animals were there in the note? Asuma asked. What animal? It was clearly an instruction. Kiba thought. Kiba looked at his teammates who were thinking. I don't think there are any animals in that note. Hinata said, disappointed. Naruto looked at both examiners and said. 2. There are 2 animals in the note. He said. A while ago he was scanning the note in his mind. This is a try run. After 20 minutes you will have to run and escape this building. Think it could be possible? If you got caught, you and your team will fail. Time starts now. It only revealed 2 animals, namely, the ape and the kit. Yosh. You may all pass. Guy said. Air shouted. Asuma just congratulated them with a smile. How did you know there are 2 animals in that note? Kiba asked. They were currently running at the maze-like corridors of the second floor. Maybe it was just my luck. Naruto said. Yay, right. Kiba said while Hinata settled for a chuckle. They managed to pass the second question being given by Kakashi and an unknown cat-masked Anbu. It only took them a couple of minutes to answer that question once again thanks to Naruto. Team 8 had been wondering what this test was for. They were currently running at the first floor corridors. They also took notice that they were the only ones running at the first floor. Or did somebody already come before them? Once again they stopped. Before them were Yuhi Kurenai, the Genjutsu mistress, and the mysterious black-masked Anbu. The genins saw the black-masked Anbu walked slowly to their direction. She placed her right palm to her arm pad and in front of them she pulled out a kunai out of the arm pad. It was like alchemy, very advanced alchemy. They saw her stopped and pointed the kunai at Naruto. I want you to answer my question. The black-masked Anbu commanded. Naruto was trying to look behind the mask but the only thing he could see was his reflection. Tell me, Genin, what is the code of the shinobi and what is its purpose? The black-masked Anbu said. Kurenai, on the other hand, was plain shocked. This wasn't the question. What the heck is she doing? Kurenai thought. Naruto looked down, thinking. Come on Naruto, don't disappoint me. The Anbu thought. Naruto was remembering the times when Ayeka was still with him, teaching him. He remembered the day she healed his wounds back when he was still 5 years old. He remembered the day she started teaching him. The first lesson was the history of Konoha. He remembered himself asking Ayeka this question that caused him a whack at the head. Anyo-sa, Ayeka-sensei. What is it Naruto-kun? Ayeka asked. Why did you help me yesterday? The blonde boy asked as he looked down. Ayeka smiled. Being a shinobi you must protect the ones you love, you must be loyal to them, treat them as if they are a part of your heart. I want you to remember that, Naruto-kun. Ayeka said. Naruto was about to say that she didn't even answer his question but then he realized what Ayeka had said. you must protect the ones you love. Was he one of those she cared for? He didn't have to ask that, it was clearly obvious. I'll definitely gonna remember that, Ayeka-sensei. Naruto exclaimed. Keep your voice down, will you? Ayeka said as she brought both of her index fingers on her temples. Why? Are you feeling your age, old hag? 5 years old, Naruto said. What did you just call me? Ayeka twitched her eyebrow. You're starting to get deaf, old hag. Naruto said. This time Ayeka's fist was rumbling like mad. Naruto noticed it and started to run off. But immediately Ayeka caught him quite easily. Not even using a single % of her strength, she just whacked the hell out of the 5-year-old. That will teach you not to call me, old hag. Currently, Naruto was looking down, but this time he had a grin on his face. When he looked up to see the black-masked Anbu, he said, being a shinobi, you must protect the ones you love, you must be loyal to them, treat them as if they are a part of your heart. Naruto said with a fox grin on his face. You three can proceed now, she said with calmness in her tone. Soon, Team 8 walked out the building. They were the first to walk out the said building. After a couple of minutes they saw the Sand Nins walked out, then Team 7, and after 15 minutes they saw Team 10 and Team Guy walking out at the same time. Soon, they were greeted by a kunoichi named Mitarashi Anko. 19 genins managed to pass, that ANBU's test was something. I couldn't agree more, Anko thought with a maniacal grin on her face. Hey Naruto, she's not our second examiner, is she? Kiba whispered. He gulped when he saw that grin Anko was doing. I'm the hot, sexy, and still single, Mitarashi Anko. I'll be your second examiner. Did that answer your question? Naruto said. You, Anko said as she threw a kunai at a genin. Chunin exam 2. The said genin didn't move or even caught the kunai, yet he did manage not to get hurt. Now everybody's attention flew fast to the said genin. Before them was Uzumaki Naruto with a pair of black wings at his back that served as a shield from the kunai. Anko smirked. Naruto saw the said Tokubetsu Junin walk closely to where he sat. She bended her posture a little bit, making her face the same level with Naruto's. Kiba, on the other hand, was watching nervously, same with the other genins. He could see this Mitarashi Anko move her face closely to Naruto's, but one thing he didn't saw, Anko's hand. Anko's grin grew even wider, it was making the other genins scared. Now her face was close to Naruto's ear. Gotcha, Anko whispered. Naruto's eyes grew wide. He felt something at his cheek. It was as if something had sliced it and it was now drawing blood. Now it was everybody's turn to get shocked. They could see this second examiner on top of Uzumaki Naruto, licking his blood. The event was sickening. They could just imagine if this second examiner was crazy enough, they would have to expect the unexpected. Anko withdrew herself from Naruto, who had a mixed expression on his face. Anko, on the other hand, still had the maniacal grin on her face. She looked at the genins before her, but now with seriousness in her eyes. She held out a couple of forms and said, "Sign these forms," she said as she gave the forms to the genins. Anyo Mitarashi-san, what are these forms for? Anko saw a pink-haired girl asked. Those forms will state that you will be responsible for your own death. Anko replied. She turned her heel to face the other genins. Now, this is the second stage of your exam. Welcome to the Forest of Death. She grinned. You will have to apply all of your survival skills to be able to pass this exam. Your goal is to get the scrolls, specifically, the Heaven and Earth scrolls. If your team got the Heaven scroll, you are assigned to get the Earth scroll, and so on and so forth. I don't care how you complete this test. Once you got all specific scrolls, you will proceed to the tower at the middle of the forest. You only have 5 days and 5 nights to complete your entire given task. Anko said. After a couple of minutes, all genin teams were positioned to their designated gates. Once the gates were opened, they all saw Team 8 flew past their designated gate courtesy of Naruto's wings. Surely, they will have a head start for this test just like a while ago. Everybody was convinced that this Uzumaki Naruto was different from the Uzumaki Naruto they knew before. They should have to keep their guards up if they crossed Team 8's path. Currently with Team 8, they landed safe just above a branch. Who should hold the scroll? Kiba asked. Naruto should, he can protect the scroll. Hinata said. True, Kiba said as he and Hinata looked at their teammate, who was thinking as well. No, Naruto said. They'll expect the scroll will be in my possession. Kiba should hold the scroll. He said. Are you sure? Kiba asked. He saw Naruto nod while Hinata smiled. Just when they were about to sprint away, they all heard a scream near their area. Ah! It screamed again. Team 8 saw their fellow genin, Haruno Sakura. She was running for her teammate, Uchiha Sasuke, who looked like he was dead. They also noticed Shino trying to defend both of his teammates from a snake-like creature. The snake-like creature was grinning at the young Aburame. Shino wasn't expecting a sword come flashing out of his mouth, but something was off. Shino looked up to see Uzumaki Naruto. Once again his wings were used as a defense. You, the snake-like creature said. Inside his twisted mind, his thoughts were racing frankly. This boy, he can't be, they were all wiped out. It's impossible, he thought. I'll leave Sasuke-kun to you. I'm sure he'll come asking for me. The snake-like creature said as he took his leave. Naruto was about to go after the said man, but Kiba and Hinata stopped him. Naruto looked back at Team 7. He kneeled in front of Sasuke's unconscious form. He noticed a mark at his neck. He looked at Sakura and said, what happened to him? Sasuke-kun got attacked by the snake-like man. He bit Sasuke-kun at the neck. Sakura said between sobs. Naruto sighed and walked back to his teammates, who were currently aiding Shino. The said Aburame tried to fend off his teammates against the said snake-like man. Out of nowhere a group of sound nins came. They were obviously looking for another scroll as they proclaimed. Their female teammate noticed the genin who had a long silky pink hair. Kintsuchi was her name. She has been irritated by this genin. She wasn't even fit being a kunoichi. She thought. Give us your scroll, said the other genin. His name was Zaku Abumi. What if we don't? Kiba asked. You'll die, Zaku shouted while his female teammate, Kin, ran to Sakura. Their other teammate, Dosu Kaneda, was staring at the blonde genin. Sakura didn't have any time to dodge the attack being given to her. She could feel her hair being pulled as she struggled to get away. Team 8 was about to help Sakura, but Zaku interrupted them. Zaku created a wind-like barrier in front of Team 8. They could see the way that female sound nin beat Sakura, her hair cut by Kin's kunai. Naruto, on the other hand, was feeling something vaguely familiar, something he had felt before, but what? He activated his wings as he ran for Sakura, who was on the process of hitting the nearby tree. By the time he laid her at the ground with his teammates, he told them to help Sakura. Meanwhile, Kiba and Hinata could swear they saw something inside Naruto's eyes, something that looked like slits, black slits to be exact. They took notice that the surroundings were changing as if they were inside a genjutsu, but the thing is, it felt real. The sound team looked at the blonde boy in front of them. They could see nothing from his face, which only bore a neutral one. Both Zaku and Kin were stuck watching the blonde before them. There was something about those eyes. They thought. They both took a step back, but they were surprised to find themselves stuck on their feet. They couldn't even speak. They just saw the blonde boy walked up to them. You've hurt someone who's incapable of defending herself and yet you abused her, Naruto said to the kunoichi. Then, he looked at the shinobi before him. You, seeing as she was helpless yet you still interfered, you wanted to see her die, slowly. I'll give you that, Naruto said, and this time he turned to both sound nins. You'll pay for your deceit, Naruto said. By the time he turned his heel, he could hear the screams coming from both sound nins. Dosu, on the other hand, was in panic. Panic for his teammates and panic for his life. He didn't even saw this blonde boy form any hand seals, and yet he managed to immobilize both of his teammates. Not to mention, he managed to make them suffer with an unknown jutsu that seemed like a genjutsu. Wait, he said. Naruto stopped with his tracks and turned again to face the other sound nin. Let my teammates go, I'll give you our scroll in return. Dosu said. Naruto looked at him. He saw the said nin was handing out their team's scroll. Naruto promptly took it, and soon Kin and Zaku were dropped down to the ground panting. Both too tired to stand up or even continue with their consciousness. They lay there unconscious as Dosu saw it. He just carried both of his teammates away from them. Once the sound nins were gone, they saw Naruto fell to his knees just when his wings dissipated. For now, Team 8 has 2 scrolls, specifically, both Heaven and Earth scrolls. Unknown to them, a group of genins were watching the whole fiasco. Even they felt the amount of power Naruto displayed a while ago. Kiba was currently carrying his teammate, Naruto, as they sprinted up to the trees on their way to the said tower. On the said tower, Team 8 was greeted by a puzzle or something like a riddle. It only came to them when Kiba accidentally opens both said scrolls when he dropped Naruto due to exhaustion. He cursed himself when a cloud of smoke appeared in front of them only to reveal, Yumi no Iruka. Yo, you're a bit early anyways, come in. There are medics inside and rooms to rest in, and if you're hungry there's also food. Iruka said, not even noticing the unconscious blonde until. Iruka-sensei, help Naruto quick. Kiba shouted. Soon, the Chunin turned back and carried Naruto inside the tower. Kurenai and the other Junins saw Iruka running with a blonde ninja in his arms. This caused Kurenai and other Junins, namely, Enko and Kakashi, to go after the said Chunin and to see if Naruto was alright. What happened to him? Kurenai asked her students. We don't know, at first we thought he'd gone berserk, then the next thing, he fell unconscious. Kiba said as he tried to calm Hinata from crying. Kurenai sighed. She just sat next to Naruto, who was still sleeping. You were there beside me, sensei. You're the first and last person I've seen through those times. And every time I opened my eyes you were there, Kurenai-sensei. That was a great help for me. Naruto said as he looked at the heavens above. Kurenai remembered those words as she watched Naruto's sleeping form. It was like what had happened back at Wave Country. She was thankful that he didn't suffer from any injuries unlike before. Was she getting all worried again? It was normal though, as she thought this was her student lying unconscious in front of her. She would do the same with Hinata and Kiba. This made her decision to stay with them until the 5 given days for this stage ended. They still have 4 days to go, that would be enough for a good rest. After Team 8 had finished the second task, they were given the opportunity to take a break. They found out that the Sand Nins came first before them, and in after 2 days Team 7 came. Sasuke was still unconscious. Kakashi immediately recognized the marking on Sasuke's neck. He promptly moved his team to a room, separately, just like the other teams. It was also on the second day Team Guy and Team 10 alongside with a single Sound Genin came, and on the third day, the Sound Team came. Meanwhile, Sakura was outside Sasuke's room. In front of her was Kakashi. He was telling the pink head that Sasuke can't see any visitors and he's still unconscious. But Sakura was still protesting, but then stopped. She looked at the floor that seemed to be getting blurry, in her point of view. Kakashi sighed as he looked at his distressed student. He just walked inside Sasuke's room. There was still someone in her mind she had to visit, Naruto. Sakura never saw Naruto to get serious. She could still remember the time he saved her when she was about to hit the nearby tree. She couldn't help but to wonder. What was Kurenai-san's feeling when she flew with Naruto? Sakura smiled as she went with her merry way to visit the said blonde. By the time she was near to the said room, there was something about it. There were people in front of Naruto's room. There was this girl named Haku, and then Kiba and Hinata. Shino was there too, even Ino was there. Wait. Stop. Freeze. Rewind. Ino's there. Sakura would understand why Kiba, Hinata, and Shino were there and she would slightly understand why Haku was there, but for Ino, there was a big question mark at the end of that statement. She walked closely, but then she didn't even notice that there were two kunoichis at the back. There was this Leaf Nin. Sakura noticed that the said Leaf Nin was from Lee's team. Her name was Ten as far as Sakura could remember. Ten was, after all, from the early graduating class. Then there was this Sand Nin. For Sakura, that Sand Nin was a mystery to her. Meanwhile, inside Naruto's room, Naruto was widely awake, but Kurenai was not letting him go after what had happened, since it was still a mystery to Kurenai. Naruto noticed that they were alone in the room. He couldn't help but to look at his sensei, who was peeling an apple with a knife. Anyo, Kurenai-sensei, where's Hinata and Kiba, are they alright? Naruto asked. Kurenai didn't look at him, but then she replied. They are perfectly fine, Naruto-kun. Apple, Kurenai said as she offered the said fruit to him. At first, it tasted sweet, then slowly it was gone like cotton candy, only apple flavored. Once he was done eating, Naruto was looking at the white sheets which were covering half of his body. He couldn't help but to feel uneasy being alone with a full-grown woman beside him. But why feel this now? They have been alone in her house, but short-lived. They have been alone back at Chizuna's house twice, but once again short-lived. They have been alone at their training ground, but then short-lived. There was only this one time back at the park. It wasn't short-lived, cut, or even interrupted. That was one of the best nights Naruto had. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Kurenai asked for the 5th time. Naruto, apparently, hadn't answered since he was busy staring at the white sheets. He asked. Kurenai moved closely. It's as if she was studying his facial reactions, but then sighed. She was about to stand up when suddenly the door swung open, making the occupants of the room surprised, while the ones at the door were shocked from what they were seeing. It only became worse when Anko, Kakashi, and Zabuza came in. A while ago, when Kurenai was about to stand up, the door swung open immediately, making the occupants of the room surprised as hell. It would be. The ninjas saw Kurenai on top of a shirtless Naruto. Immediately, Kurenai separated herself from the said blonde, both speechless and blushing by the way. Way to get Naruto-kun, Kurenai, Anko said. That was interesting. Zabuza said with a chuckle. Very interesting indeed, Kakashi added. This caused the Genjutsu mistress to become red while the other genins were looking at their second examiner. It hit them hard when they remembered that this woman was the one who licked Naruto's cheek. Their line of sight turned to Naruto. It was just now that they realized that he grew, literally. He wasn't the 5 feet 2 inches blonde teenager who had puppy fats back then. Naruto was now the 5 feet 6 inches young man who had well-defined physique. And to think, he was only 14 years old. How's Sasuke? Naruto asked, trying to change the topic. He's fine, he's still asleep, though. Kakashi said. But before Naruto could ask any more questions, he was tackled by Kiba and Akamaru. Naruto, how did you do that genjutsu trick you pulled back there at the forest? That was so cool, man. Kiba asked. What genjutsu trick? Naruto asked, looking confused. You don't remember? Kiba asked in awe. No, hehe. So what did I do again? Naruto asked. Everyone was confused, including the ones who didn't get to see what really happened. Why won't you tell us what really happened, Kiba-kun? Kurenai asked. Kiba nodded and started to tell what happened back at the Forest of Death. That wasn't what really happened, Ino said. She interrupted Kiba when he was at the part when Naruto was about to be thrown at the nearby tree, which did not happen. Even Sakura was nodding in agreement. Naruto-kun didn't get thrown at a tree. He was saving Forehead Girl. Ino added. Oh yay. As far from what I can remember, you weren't there. Ho ho ho, wait a second here, since when there was a kun at Naruto's name? Kiba asked. Immediately, all eyes turned to Ino. Could you please continue with the story? Naruto asked, making his presence known again. They were about to continue when Hinata interrupted. Let me continue, she said. Everyone sighed and nodded in response while there were two people who hadn't stopped glaring at each other. Soon, Hinata started to narrate the whole story in every detail. No one interrupted since it was what really happened. By the time she was done narrating the whole story, everybody including Naruto was shocked. I did what? Naruto asked, disbelieving. You practically saved us, Naruto-kun. Sakura said. For that, I thank you. She said as she hugged him. It's really nothing, Sakura. Naruto said as he moved away from the said girl and walked up to his clothes. But before he could even put on his clothes, he swore he could feel a warm hand touching his bare back. He quickly turned around and surprised to say he saw Haku and Anko, both grinning at him. That's a cool looking tattoo you got there, Naruto-kun. Haku said. Has anyone ever told you, you look so hot without your shirt, Naruto-kun? Anko said, dragging the kun purposely. From what she was seeing, she was definitely enjoying every detail of it. Too bad there were people around here, but then again maybe she would just love the audience's expressions. Let's take for example, Whoa, Kiba, Kakashi, and Zabuza. What the heck? Sakura, Ino, Tenten, Tamari, and Kurenai. Shino and Hinata. Early in the morning, ninjas were already inside a covered stadium. Some were waiting for their names to be called. The referee said a while ago that they were in need to cut off the number of participants since there were an odd number of participants in the Chunin exam. Surprisingly, a genin from Odogakur raised his hand. He just said that his chakra reserves were low so he had to quit. A while ago the first match was with Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino, which ended up as a draw. Then the second match came. It was Sabaku no Konkuro versus Tenten. The match ended up Konkuro as the winner, much to Tenten's dismay. Once the winner was decided, they call upon the third match. It was Sabaku no Tamari versus Kinsuchi. Kin's attack was no match against Temari's long-range attacks, and as a result Tamari was the victor. The fourth match came. It was Sabaku no Gaara versus Zaku Abumi. The match ended up fast, Zaku almost getting killed without any remorse coming from his opponent, Gaara. After their match everyone fell silent, even the other sand nins were quiet. After the eerie silence the fifth match came. It was Rock Lee versus Akamichi Choji. As a result, Lee was declared the winner. Currently, everybody was watching Kiba and Sasuke's match. Kiba and Akamaru already formed the Jujin Bushin. Soon, there were two tornado-like spinning to its opponent, Sasuke. Sasuke's next move caught everyone off guard. That was Lee said. There was no mistake, that was Lee's, Konoha Senpu. Sasuke might have copied it while Lee was battling against Choji. Kiba's, Gatsuga, was immediately stopped. Even though Kiba was spinning, Sasuke managed to stop it during the aerial attack. Kiba had no choice but to quit. He already lost a lot of chakra from the attack. He would soon faint if he continued. He looked up to his teammates and Junin sensei. It was clear to them that what was happening to him during the fight. I quit, he said. Soon, Sasuke was declared as the winner. Kiba walked up to his teammates with a low face, obviously disappointed with the result of the fight. But his teammates were smiling at him. Naruto walked up to him and said, "You were great and that was enough for us," Naruto said as he patted Kiba's back several times, causing him to fall to the floor. He looked up only to find both of his teammates and Junin sensei smiling at him. He too smiled back. After their little get-together, the next match was already being called by the referee. They were Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Both said competitors walked up to the arena, both studying each other. Slowly, Shino called out his destruction bugs while Hinata activated her Byakugan. The match hadn't even started yet and both competitors were getting ready. This should be interesting, Naruto said. How so? Kiba asked. Naruto just smirked and said, "How much would you bet if this match ended up as a draw?" Kiba just looked at him with a confused look on his face. What was he trying to say? He thought. Meanwhile, back with Shino and Hinata, the referee looked at both competitors and said, "Fight." Shino called out his destruction bugs for a direct attack, but with Hinata's Byakugan, Hinata managed to counter the attack. She was about to land a hit on Shino when suddenly he turned out to be a mere clone of his bugs. Now, she was practically covered by Shino's Kikai bugs, blinding her view. He could be anywhere, Hinata thought. With that thought in her mind, she shouted, "You are under my divination," she said. Soon, there were Kikai bugs everywhere. Unknown to her, she managed to hit Shino with quite a number, closing his Tenketsu at the same time. Shino didn't even get a chance to attack since he made it fly away. The referee was looking at both competitors and decided to call it a draw. By the time the referee called it a draw, both ninjas collapsed at the arena. Shino suffered from internal blows and muscle pains while Hinata suffered from chakra exhaustion. They were both carried away by the stretchers and soon another match was going to be held. Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji, the referee called. Soon, both competitors were at the arena. It was like the most anticipated match of the elimination round. Neji was looking at Naruto. He could still remember Hinata's story during their genin test. It was on that day he accepted Naruto as a rival but not an equal. "I've waited for this time to come. It seems that fate wanted us to fight. Too bad fate already chose me as the victor," Neji said with a grin. Naruto just smiled at the sarcasm. "As far from what I can see, I'm still standing here, Neji-san," Naruto said. He noticed Neji's reaction and boy was he pissed. Without a second or two, Neji attacked Naruto with his Juken. Neji was about to attack again, but surprised to say, his attacks were useless when he saw a pair of black wings covering Naruto's whole body. By the time the said wings was gone, Naruto had a different look on his face. He had the same look back at the Forest of Death. The same black slits in Naruto's eyes. "Kiba, look at Naruto's eyes, isn't that the same with the ones back at the Forest of Death?" Hinata asked. Kiba stared at it for a couple of seconds. It was the same, he had to admit, but there was a slight difference in it. "Yes, but," Kiba said. "You recognized it too?" Hinata asked. Kiba nodded. "It's like his eyes didn't have any glow. It's like as if he's hypnotized or something," Kiba said. Kurenai was listening at her students' conversation. She just kept silent as she watched Naruto's fight. She noticed Naruto's moves, it was as if he's dancing at the stage. Naruto was just evading every attack that Neji was giving him. It was like a child's play for Naruto. Back with Naruto and Neji's fight, Naruto was standing there as well as Neji. They stopped fighting just when Neji realized something. Naruto's wings serves as a shield just like Gaara's sand, but was it just for defense? This was the first time Neji saw Naruto use those wings in battle. Neji kept his cool. He didn't want to look like a fool in this match. He was a Hyuga after all. "Let's end this, Naruto-san," Neji said as he took a familiar stance. It was the Hakusho Kaden, as Naruto thought. "Let's, Neji-san," Naruto said as he waited for the incoming attack. "Kaden," shouted Neji. Soon he was spinning towards Naruto. Teammate was yelling out for Naruto to move out the way, but he just stood there, eyes closed. It was as if he was anticipating for the attack. There it goes again, Neji thought. Before him was Naruto covered by his black wings. Neji was attacking, but then his spin was starting to slow down. He was caught off guard, literally. Naruto managed to catch him by the neck. Even the spectators were surprised as to how this blonde genin managed to grab Neji by the neck. Even with Neji's Juken, he couldn't detach himself from Naruto's grip. The only thing he could see from Naruto was his eyes, those blue eyes with black slits in it. There was something about it that made his body immobilized. It was like the Sharingan, but it's far from different. Neji could feel his air starting to decrease, and it wasn't Naruto's grip. It's like it came from the inside. It was like there's something burning inside of him. Neji collapsed just when Naruto let him go. He was coughing real hard. Beads of sweat seemed to form on his forehead. He looked at Naruto just when the referee declared Naruto as the winner. There he saw again, those pair of blue eyes with black slits. His wings dissipated again as he walked back to his teammates. He saw him stopped and looked at him. Fate doesn't choose your path, remember that, Neji-san. Naruto said. There Neji saw Naruto's retreating back. Meanwhile, the Hokage watched the whole match starting from the first then to the last, Uzumaki Naruto's fight against Hyuga Neji. Sandaime was pleased yet disturbed. He was pleased that Naruto won, but he couldn't help but to wonder about those eyes that Naruto possessed during the fight. It was disturbing because he had heard some rumors that Naruto had used it, but from what he had heard this was different. Sandaime motioned an Anbu to come. It was the black-masked Anbu. Do you mind telling me what that was? Sandaime said. The Anbu didn't hesitate to answer. That was Naruto-kun's second bloodline, the Jagan Evil Eyes. It complements with the Kurotenshi Tsubasa. Those bloodlines came from Mizuo-sama's lineage, Sandaime-sama. The Anbu said. Surprised to say, Sandaime was not shocked at the Anbu's reply. He knew that one of these days, Naruto will get to activate all-powerful bloodlines. Minato, Mizuo, he's becoming stronger than you've ever wished. Soon, he will surpass everyone, even you, Minato, my friend. Sandaime thought. Hokage-sama, the Anbu called. Yes, Sandaime said. The genins have already picked a number, Hokage-sama. It's your turn to announce when the next fight will be. The black-masked Anbu replied. Right, Sandaime said as he stood up from his seat. Before him were the victors of this stage, namely Nara Shikamaru, 1. Rock Lee, 1. Sabaku no Gaara, 3. Sabaku no Kankuro, 2. Sabaku no Tamari, 4. Uchiha Sasuke, 2. Uzumaki Naruto, 3. First, congratulations for winning this second stage. Now, you'll all have at least 1 month to train for the next stage. Do your best, Sandaime said, leaving the ninjas behind. Chunin Exam 3. The said ninjas were wondering what could the last stage of the Chunin exam would be like, since they were facing real ninjas here, someone who they didn't know personally, in the case of the Leaf Nins and the Sand Nins. The Sand Nins were a big mystery to them. Several minutes passed, all the ninjas went to their merry way. Some were disappointed while some were pleased. Currently in an onsen, there we could see our favorite blue-eyed shinobi, Uzumaki Naruto. He had been asleep since his body agreed to it. There he was sleeping without a care to the world around him. Even Kyuubi was supplying him a wondrous dream in Naruto's point of view. It was about him and his angel, they were flying under the moonlight. They were alone until he was hearing some giggling. Naruto was automatically awakened by the said disturbance. He was frankly looking who could have been giggling at the male section of the onsen. Once he found the source of the disturbing sound, he had the urge to yell at the said source. Before him was a man, with white long hair, and red markings on his face. The said man was giggling. Is he peeping? Naruto thought. Then there he heard again, the white-haired man was giggling again. Naruto was about to shout when he heard a familiar voice from the women's section of the onsen. Come on, Kurenai, tell us what was it like flying with him. A familiar voice rang from the other side of the onsen. Naruto recognized it as his second examiner, Mitarashi Anko. Then another familiar voice was heard. Tell us. It was that cat-masked Anbu, Azuki Yugao. Naruto thought. Without a second or two, another familiar voice was heard. Yeah, I'll speak for Motoko here. Come on, Kurenai, tell us, please. It was Haku, Zabuza's adopted sister. It was just until now, Naruto realized that there were 5 kunoichis at the other side of the onsen, including his Junin sensei, and this white-haired man was peeping on them. He quickly rose up from the waters and yelled. What the heck do you think you're doing? Naruto shouted. This caused the other ninjas from the other side of the onsen to rise from the hot water, securing their bodies from the unknown pervert, as though they thought. The white-haired man looked back at the other customer of the onsen, signaling him to shut up. Stop it, he said. Why? So that the women you're peeping won't know about your act. Naruto shouted, bringing his volume up. Unfortunately for the white-haired man, the women already decided to bring forth their wrath. The said white-haired man was tied at a nearby tree by a half-masked kunoichi. It was Motoko. You, the white-haired man started. The half-masked kunoichi walked up to the tied man and whispered something unknown to the others. Once she was done, she walked back to the other women. Some were not looking at the pervert, but they were looking at the blonde shinobi in the onsen. Naruto noticed the stares being given to him. He just laughed nervously and said, don't y'all feel a little awkward here? You're in the men's section of the onsen, somebody could see y'all, Naruto said as he looked down, avoiding the stares being given to him. Anko smirked as she saw the young man nervous from his feet. Why, you scared, Naruto-kun, Anko said as she walked in front of the blonde. Yugao and Haku had a smile on their faces while Kurenai just stood there, silent. Motoko, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. 4 women stood there, with a blonde shinobi, half as well, forgetting the white-haired man at the tree. Naruto gulped at his sudden predicament. He was about to say something when someone broke it for him. Anko. It was Kurenai. Yugao and Haku looked between the two while Naruto was at the middle. Anko looked at the genjutsu mistress with a raised eyebrow. There was something on her face which stated, "Don't mess with me when I'm having fun." She was currently looking at Kurenai. The said woman had a serious look on her face too, but it didn't state anything, unlike Anko's. What? Anko asked. Just leave Naruto-kun alone. We better head back to the women's section and fast. Kurenai said with a plain tone. Her face didn't show any emotion, nor was she concealing it just like a while ago. Kurenai raised her eyebrow when she heard the Tokubetsu Junin chuckle, then it got worse. Anko started to laugh, hysterically. Now, it was everyone's turn to look confused at the Tokubetsu Junin. Ha ha ha, you should see the look on your face. Ha ha ha, it was, ha ha ha, hilarious. Ha ha ha, Anko laughed more. Kurenai had the urge to yell at the woman before her while Yugao and Haku just sighed at the woman. Naruto, well, he had a blank look on his face. Once again they forgot about the white-haired man behind them. After several seconds, Kurenai pulled Anko away, making the other kunoichis follow from behind. Naruto looked at the retreating women, then to the white-haired man. The said white-haired man was looking at him as well. Their staring contest ended when the white-haired man spoke. You're Uzumaki Naruto, correct? Automatically, Naruto raised an eyebrow, confused as to how would this man know him. Naruto just nodded and said, that I am and you are. Naruto asked. The white-haired man had the urge to yell at the blonde, but then he just let his cool take over him. Kids these days, the white-haired man thought. I am Jiraiya, one of the legendary 3. The Jiraiya said, but Naruto cut him off. You're one of the legendary 3. As in one of Sandame Gigi's students. I really have hard time believing at that crap. Naruto said. He had a bored look on his face when Jiraiya introduced himself. Jiraiya's eyebrow twitched at the blonde's brash behavior. You're coming with me, he said. Naruto said. What? Are you deaf? Jiraiya asked, making the blonde shot back. Why the heck will I go with you? For all I know, you're a pervert. Jiraiya had a grin on his face. He walked away to the said blonde and without a second or two he formed a set of hand seals and said. Kuchio's no jutsu. Soon, there was a frog that's almost as big as a human being. Jiraiya still had the smirk on his face as he looked at the shocked shinobi. Meet me at the lake tomorrow morning. Jiraiya said, leaving the shocked Naruto behind. Which lake? Naruto thought. The next day came. Naruto was walking at a side of a lake. He was thinking of the encounter he had with the toad Sanin. What was he thinking? Naruto thought. Unknown to him, someone was watching, stalking at him. Good to see you came. The stalker said. Naruto looked behind. It was Jiraiya, the perverted hermit. He was wearing the oddest pile of clothes Naruto had ever seen. Here I am, what do you want? Naruto asked. Jiraiya ignored the sarcasm and proceeded to his agenda. I'm here to teach you, Gaki. Jiraiya said. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but when he remembered the encounter last night he immediately said, yes, to the perverted hermit. Jiraiya was watching the blonde as he jumped up and down in front of him, something he remembered back when his student was alive. Okay, calm yourself geez, why are you so excited? Jiraiya asked. Come on Ero Sennin, what's the first lesson? Naruto said, obviously excited. Jiraiya was calming himself. The boy had a knack to call him Ero Sennin, perverted hermit. He just sighed at the thought. I've heard that you have wings, is that true? Jiraiya asked. Naruto nodded and said, yes I do have wings. He said as he activated his Kurotenshi Tsubasa. What else can you do with it aside from flying? Jiraiya asked again. Naruto was on his thinking position. I guess I can use it as a shield. I've done it several times. Naruto said. Jiraiya was pondering at Naruto's words. Can you use it as a weapon? Jiraiya asked again. Naruto's face fell. I don't know, he said. Yar, come on, come with me. Jiraiya said. Naruto was taken aback as he saw the hermits retreating back. Wait up, he said as he deactivated his wings. Naruto was following the said frog Sannin. They were still near the lake, only a few meters away from where they stood a while ago. What now, Ero Sennin? Naruto asked. That's it, Jiraiya thought. Let's just say, Jiraiya snapped. Stop calling me that you brat. Jiraiya shouted. I'm going to teach you to summon. Jiraiya added. Naruto was about to shout back, but when he heard what Jiraiya had said, Naruto was all ears to the toad Sannin. Summon. Naruto repeated. What? You don't know what's a summon? Jiraiya asked. I know them, but that would mean I have to get a contract from a certain animal or summon. Naruto said. Jiraiya had a grin on his face stating that his answer was correct for someone in his age. There he was once again, forming the needed hand seals for the summoning. Once Jiraiya was done he bit his thumb and slammed both palms at the ground, saying, Kuchio's no jutsu, at the same time. Soon there was this frog again, the one Naruto saw back at the onsen. The said frog brought out a large scroll from its mouth. Jiraiya promptly opened the said scroll and said, sign here using your blood. Jiraiya said as he pointed out. Naruto noticed Jiraiya's name and then another name next to him and his signature. The mysterious signature that said, Namikaze Minato. He's the fourth sensei. Naruto wondered as he signed the said contract. There. Done. Naruto said. Before we do the summoning, have you done tree climbing to control your chakra? Jiraiya asked, which earned him a nod from the said blonde. Okay. How about water walking? Jiraiya asked again, but then again Naruto nodded in response. What the heck have you been teaching him, Ayeka? Jiraiya said to no one in particular in his mind. He just sighed and said. Fine. We'll start with the summoning, but I must warn you the frog boss is not that easy to be pleased. Jiraiya said. Yosh. Naruto said as he mocked a salute. Now, I want you to do these hand seals. Jiraiya said. He was currently teaching Naruto the correct set of hand seals needed for the summoning. Now, do as I say. Bite your thumb to draw some blood, slam both of your palms to the ground, and say the summoning jutsu. Got it so far? Jiraiya asked. Naruto nodded in response. He did what he was told to. By the time he finished with the whole ordeal, he announced. Kuchio's no jutsu. Soon, there was a cloud of smoke, but it wasn't big as Jiraiya's a while ago. It was rather small. When the smoke dissipated, it only revealed a small version of the frog a while ago. Yo, it said. Naruto was looking at the frog. He was quite surprised to see it talked, and yet here it was asking for him if he got some candies in him. Hello, are you deaf? Do you have some candy with you? It asked again. Oh, here, Naruto said as he gave the said frog a mint. Mint. Thanks. I'm Gamakichi and you are? Gamakichi asked. Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto said. Yeah, I'm going now, thanks for the mint again, Naruto. Gamakichi said as he poofed away, leaving a dumbfounded Naruto. Not bad for a first try, Naruto. Jiraiya said from the behind. Now do it again, this time, try to summon the big boss. Jiraiya said. Naruto promptly went back to his feet and did the necessary hand seals. Once he was done, he bit his thumb again and slammed both of his palms to the ground and shouted. Kuchio's no jutsu, then it happened again, there was a cloud of smoke but this time it was humongous. The cloud dissipated and it revealed the king of all frogs, Gamabunta. Jiraiya, how dare you summon me at a time like this? It shouted. Naruto was looking everywhere as if trying to find someone. But then he noticed something, the said perverted toad Sanin was nowhere to be found. Naruto looked up and said. Ero Sennin didn't summon you, I did. Naruto shot back. Gamabunta heard a voice but then he couldn't see where the source was coming from. This is getting nowhere. Naruto thought. He activated his wings and flew in front of the boss frog. Gamabunta saw something landed on his nose and said. I was the one who summoned you. It shouted. You, a mere pipsqueak, you must be joking me. Gamabunta said. He was looking at the blonde boy on his nose. There was something about him that he was familiar with. Then, he noticed the black wings on his back. Is he considering him now? Jiraiya thought. He was currently watching Naruto and the big boss frog as they confront with each other. I already did the other half, I guess it's your turn now. Jiraiya said to someone in particular. A shadow walked out of nowhere, it revealed a feminine form. She had black shoulder-length wavy hair and red intense eyes. She was watching Naruto from far behind just like Jiraiya. The said figure was smiling as she watched Naruto, who was trying to convince the said frog boss. Naruto has grown so much, Ne-sama. I'm sure you're watching over him now. Meanwhile back with Naruto, the said blonde was still trying to convince Gamabunta but then another poof was heard. When the smoke dissipated, it revealed the small frog, Gamakichi. Yo pops. Oh hey, Naruto, what ya doing here? Whoa, you have wings. That's cool man, Gamakichi said. Gamabunta was looking at his son, Gamakichi, then to this blonde boy again. Gamakichi, what are you doing here? Gamabunta asked. Mom was wondering where you've been, you suddenly disappeared in a poof. Gamakichi said. Naruto could swear he was hearing some grunting coming from Gamabunta. Then the next thing he knew, Gamabunta was looking at him and then to his son. How did you know this human? Gamabunta asked. I think he summoned me a while ago. I like him, pops. He gave me this mint just a moment ago. Gamakichi said. Gamabunta looked at the blonde boy again and said. For now you have the permission to summon any of my children except me, do you understand that? I still have to give you a test to see if you really are worthy of my services. Gamabunta said as he and Gamakichi poofed away. Yosh! Naruto shouted as he flew almost everywhere in the clearing. After several minutes, he landed back on the ground. He was happy at the new jutsu he had learned. He was about to walk again but something was off. He couldn't move. Naruto was trying force himself too but he can't. He felt someone was behind him and that someone was walking to his direction. Once that someone was in front of Naruto, his eyes grew as possible as they can get. Naruto stuttered not because he couldn't move, he can move now, but he was like in an automatic shutdown. You already forgot my name, Naruto-kun. It was Ayeka, Naruto's former sensei. She was currently looking at the wide-eyed blonde who was still shocked at what he was seeing. Naruto, are you alright? Ayeka asked as she waved her right hand in front of Naruto's face. Naruto shook his head several times. It was as if he was just dreaming but then again he wasn't and Ayeka made sure of that. Naruto, what I'm about to do to you now will sting a little bit so, prepare for the inevitable. Ayeka said. Naruto was about to ask what was going on. But all of a sudden, he felt a pang of great pain struck through his right arm. It made him go limp. He screamed as the pain went to its highest level. He was screaming but then noticed he couldn't even muster a single whisper from his mouth. He looked at his former sensei who was watching him as well. After several minutes, he passed out. Soon, there was a black-like markings around his right arm and his wings tattoo at the back extended even further. The only part of his body that wasn't covered by the black markings was his left arm. By the time Naruto woke up, he noticed the surroundings hadn't changed. It was like the time didn't change at all. He was there, lying on the ground. He was wondering about the encounter he had with Ayeka. Did that really happen? He asked to no one in particular. Then he noticed a note stuck on his forehead which stated, "Hey Gaki. Sorry I got to run again. If you notice, the time didn't change so, you still have time to go and meet your teammates. Oh, and if you notice the bandage on your right arm, don't take it off if you don't want to faint, hehe just kidding. If you feel that it doesn't hurt anymore, you can take it off. Once again, I'll see you when I'll see you. Ayeka." Naruto read the note again and again. For the second time, she left him again with a note. He noticed his right arm, bandaged, and felt as if nothing had happened to it. After several seconds, he started to walk towards the training grounds. The first thing he noticed was his Junin sensei and she was, hiding behind a bush. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he watched the said Junin. He just walked next to her but when he was about to say, "Good afternoon," he was pulled down by Kurenai, signaling him to keep quiet as she pointed the other members of Team 8 namely Inuzuka Kiba and Hyuga Hinata. The said genins were currently seating at a log, both talking with each other. Kurenai and Naruto noticed Hinata's giggling and Kiba's blush. "I wonder where Sensei and Naruto is. They're quite late, don't you think?" Hinata said. "Maybe they went on a date." Kiba said, which made the Hyuga princess chuckle and said, "Maybe, but then again, there they are." Hinata said as she pointed out at the newcomers. "So, what were you two doing while we were not yet here?" Naruto asked with a grin. "Nothing. How about the both of you, where were you both?" Kiba asked with a grin on the face. Kurenai and Naruto didn't answer, they just looked away but Kiba was eyeing the both of them. Naruto, what happened to your arm?" Kurenai asked, trying to change the topic. "Oh, it's nothing," Naruto said with a smile on his face. Kiba was about to say something when suddenly Hinata said, Naruto, what do you plan now for the Chunin exam?" "You're facing Sabaku no Gaara, right?" Hinata asked. Naruto still had a smile on his face. "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine," he said. "Say, Naruto, what's this on your neck?" Kiba asked as he tackled down the said blonde while Hinata and Kurenai were watching the two as they wrestled down to the ground. "It's nothing," Naruto said as he tried to get away from the dog user. When they were about to start to wrestle again, someone poofed in. It was Kakashi with Guy. "Naruto," Kakashi called. Naruto looked at his adopted brother and then to Guy. "What's the matter, Ni-san?" Naruto asked. Kakashi noticed the bandage on Naruto's right arm and said, "What happened to your arm? You didn't get injured, did you?" Kakashi asked with seriousness in his eye. "No, I didn't get injured. I had these when I was training with myself just near the lake a while ago." "Why? What's the matter?" Naruto asked. Kakashi sighed in relief. "It's Lee, he was attacked. Ten said that it was Sabaku no Gaara who attacked Lee, but we don't have enough evidence to disqualify him in the Chunin exam. I'm afraid that Lee will have to forfeit the match with Asuma's student. It is just so unyouthful," Guy said as he cried in front of the other ninjas. Some were sending him weird looks but some were just silent as they felt a bit sad for their fellow shinobi. This made Naruto more determined to fight that Sabaku no Gaara. Aside from the feral feeling he felt during their first encounter, he was definitely going to show that Sabaku no Gaara a thing or two. "Glad to see you're safe, Ototo," Kakashi said as he ruffled Naruto's hair. The said blonde genin was occupied a while ago. He was staring at his bandaged fist. Kiba and Hinata thought Naruto will go berserk again just like in the Forest of Death. Everyone swore they saw a hint of black in Naruto's eyes, but it quickly faded away when Kakashi ruffled the said blonde's hair. After several minutes, Kakashi and Guy went to their teams, leaving Team 8 quiet as they just stood there not even talking with each other. The news of Rock Lee's attack was still on their minds. So, who's up to a little sparring session? Naruto asked, trying to change the topic. The rest of the team just looked at him with a smile on their faces. Okay, I'll spar with you. Just to make sure that you won't be the laughing stock of the Chunin exam when you walk out the stadium with a loser printout to your forehead. Kiba said, which made Naruto smirk. As if, let's see you try. I bet you won't even lay a single finger on me. Naruto joked. He saw the young Inuzuka and his dog, Akamaru, formed the Jujin Bushin, making an exact replica of the dog user. Meanwhile, Kurenai and Hinata were watching the whole ordeal. They both had the same thought running to their heads, which only stated, boys, Kurenai and Hinata. They just sat at the log and watched how Naruto dodge all Kiba's attack. Now, they're seeing Naruto on the offense while Kiba was on the defense. Kiba was trying to move as fast as he could, but Naruto was like everywhere. He stopped just when Naruto punched this tree, but from what he saw it was beyond Naruto's power. The tree was cut in half, making it fall. Kiba was thankful that Akamaru was there to push him out of the way. Kiba was still on the ground while Akamaru changed to his original form. He was still looking at Naruto, who was standing on the ground, staring at his right hand. Both Kurenai and Hinata walked to both genins and asked if they were alright. They too saw just how Naruto managed to make that tree fall down with just one punch. The three of them were thinking, what if Kiba was that tree? Are you alright? They heard Naruto ask. I'm fine. Wow, Naruto, how did you do that? Kiba asked. I don't know. Naruto said, once again with the, I don't know speech. You know, Naruto. Kiba said. Everybody was looking at the young Inuzuka as if telling him to continue with what he was saying, which he did. You are so full of surprises. Kiba added. I guess I am, hee. Naruto said as he scratched the back of his neck. The training team 8 went through varied from genjutsus, ninjutsus, taijutsus, and tactical training as well. Most of the time, they discussed about genjutsu and tactics since that's where Kurenai mostly specialized at, and sometimes, she let Naruto teach some ninjutsus and taijutsu. Even Kurenai was listening as well whenever Naruto was the one teaching. Kiba and Hinata took notice the things happening to their sensei and to their teammate for the past few weeks. They were currently listening to Naruto, who was explaining something about Kaden jutsus, and then there they saw their sensei listening attentively to their temporary sensei, but then again they just have to shrug it off since they both had to listen as well. That's about it, Naruto said. He looked at his temporary students. He noticed a couple of things. 1. Kiba and Hinata were looking at him, then to Kurenai, and 2. Kurenai was looking at him. What time is it? Naruto asked. It's almost 11:15. Hinata replied. The moment she realized what she had said, all three genins were in panic, even Kurenai too, but she just simply let her cool take over. We're going to be late. The three genins shouted in response. How come none of you noticed the time? Naruto asked, but when he saw all three looked away, including Kurenai, he just sighed and said, oh, never mind. Best way to get there on time is to fly. Come on, Naruto. Kiba said. You planned this, didn't you? Naruto asked, more like stated as he eyed the said dog user. No, I didn't. It just went through my mind. Kiba said. Fine. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto said. Soon, there were 3 Naruto. None knew who the real Naruto was. They just flew past all of the training ground. They managed to get to the part where the referee introduced himself. The said referee stopped when everyone, including him, was looking at the newcomers. Who wouldn't look at a fancy entrance, nay? The spectators noticed there were 3 winged Narutos. The first two landed and they both let go the ones they were carrying, namely, Hyuga Hinata and Inuzuka Kiba. Once the third Naruto landed, the first two Narutos dissipated. Now, wasn't that fun? Well, unlike the first time Naruto said as he let go of Kurenai. Kurenai, however, could swear there were people looking at her. She just looked calm as if no one was staring at her, which there was. We could start with a few numbers of genins, chunins, junins, and some villagers as well. She just watched Naruto as he landed where all the chunin candidates stood. There, Naruto saw the other genins looking at him, namely, Nara Shikamaru, who just stated, "How troublesome," and then looked away, Sabaku no Gara, who had the look on his face which stated, "I'm going to kill you," kind of look, Sabaku no Kankuro, who had a look on his face which stated, "What the heck were you doing back up there?" Kind of look, Sabaku no Tamari, who was just staring at the ground, probably cursing herself for not doing anything. Then, there was Uchiha Sasuke, who was as stoic as he could possibly be. The referee sighed as he saw the newcomer, Uzumaki Naruto. He just had to show off in front of everybody else, the referee thought as he shook his head several times. Due to Rock Lee's forfeiture, the first match Rock Lee vs Nara Shikamaru will be changed. The referee said. He looked at the other genins and pointed out at Sabaku no Tamari. "You," he said, "since you're in the waiting list, you're going to fight Nara Shikamaru." "What?" Tamari said. Quote, "Why am I the one who have to fight a girl?" Shikamaru said with a bored tone and look on his face. Tamari wasn't pleased at the referee's decision. She just glared at the lazy shinobi before her. She just watched the other genins move to where they originally sat before. She could see Naruto seated next to his Junin sensei. "How troublesome," she heard him say. The referee was looking between the said genins. He could tell the first genin was lazy enough to quit while the second genin was not even interested in fighting the said first genin. He just sighed at the thought. "Ready, fight," the referee announced. Chapter 8. Chunin Exam IV, the Sand Sound Invasion. Both said genins were expected to move but none came. They just stood there observing each other. The Leaf Genin, Nara Shikamaru, saw this Sand Genin, Sabaku no Tamari, moved this enormous fan from her back. Shikamaru was wondering what this fan's purpose was, and yet he noticed that she was standing in a good 20 meters away from him. It only hit him literally when he saw her swung her fan in front of him. Soon, there was a gust of wind all over the arena. Some of the chunins and junins were amazed at the power of that swing Sabaku no Tamari displayed. "You don't have to hide your lazy genin," Tamari shot. She was currently looking for the lazy genin, Nara Shikamaru, who was currently hiding behind a tree. Troublesome, Shikamaru thought. I don't get it, where's Shikamaru gone to? Ino asked. He's probably thinking of a way to defeat Tamari-san. Naruto said. Nah, he'll quit the fight, I tell you. Choji said as he continued to eat his chips. Wait, you know that Sand Nin? Ino asked, which made almost everyone in earshot look at their direction. What? Naruto asked. How did you know her? Huh, Naruto-kun? Ino asked, but before Naruto could reply someone asked another question. Why were you trying to kiss her before, huh, Naruto-kun? It was Haruno Sakura. The said kunoichi was now standing in front of Naruto. Like, how many times do I have to tell you? I wasn't going to kiss her. Naruto shot back. Unfortunately, Ino and Sakura weren't the only ones who have ears, though. Really? Naruto-kun? Naruto heard someone asked. By the time he turned around, he saw this Tokubetsu Junin, Mitarashi Anko beside her was Inuzuka Hana. Really? Naruto-kun, you were not trying to get a kiss from that Sand Nin? Anko asked as she pointed at the blonde kunoichi. Meanwhile, the said blonde kunoichi who was at the arena was now seen as red as a tomato. She was just standing there, not even moving a single inch. Her head was low as she continued to listen to the conversation going on up at the bleachers. I wasn't going to kiss her, okay? Naruto shot back again. Anko started to act disappointed. Darn it. Then that means you're not interested in older women. Anko said. Hana saw Anko's act and she too was acting like she was, pouting. Kiba wanted to bury himself from the humiliation he was suffering into. If not, he wanted to bury her sister for what was the reason again? Was it, his sister was flirting with his teammate friend? What else could happen next? He asked. Why I didn't say that? Naruto said, which caused the said older women, namely, Mitarashi Anko, Inuzuka Hana, and Yuhi Kurenai, to snap their direction to back to Naruto. So, you like older women, Naruto-kun? Anko asked as she eyed the said blonde from his seat. Well, Naruto was about to say another word but something caught his eyes. It was this mysterious black masked Anbu, who was currently walking, probably, on her way to where the cages were seating. Unfortunately, Anko took this as another alibi and said, Don't tell me you like brunettes, Naruto-kun. Anko said. What? Naruto said with a raised eyebrow. Meanwhile, back with Temari versus Shikamaru, the said blonde Kunoichi was still waiting for the lazy genin to come out from where he was hiding. It has been 10 minutes since Shikamaru started to hide, as Temari thought. Surprisingly, Shikamaru came out. Temari looked at him with a smirk on her face. He was somewhat hiding behind a shadow and his jacket was nowhere to be seen. Temari looked at him, but this time her smirk was gone. She could see her opponent forming a slight smile, as though she thought, What's he smiling about? Temari asked herself. Her eyes grew in surprise when she saw Shikamaru kneeled in one knee and formed a single hand seal. She immediately saw this black shadow-like form on the ground. As long as I stay on this side of the line, your shadow imitation won't reach me. Temari declared. A while ago she would have thought that she had won, but still there's something bothering her. It was Shikamaru's smirk. Checkmate. Temari heard Shikamaru say. Huh. Temari thought. Temari was about to say something, but then she couldn't even open her mouth. She just looked at her opponent, then suddenly her body starts to mimic the moves Shikamaru was doing. You can talk now, Shikamaru said. Temari glared at him and said. How? She asked. Your wind carried out my jacket. See, he held out the said jacket, but something caught Temari's eyes. There was a kunai tied with the jacket. I simply used its shadow to connect to yours. Shikamaru said. Surprised to say, Temari was impressed and even the referee was impressed as well. Yada. Shikamaru won. Ino said. Nah, he'll quit this one, I tell you. Choji said. Shut up you, fat. Ino shot back. That was one mistake Ino have to remember. I'm not fat. I'm just big boned. Choji shouted. Hey, break it off. I think the referee is going to announce the winner. Naruto said. Miraculously, the two stopped bickering, but unknown to Naruto, someone was not watching at the declaration, but instead that someone was watching, staring at him. As Shikamaru walked, Temari followed. She still has those glaring eyes on, and still Shikamaru didn't care. He just said, I quit. The referee and even Temari looked at him with wide eyes. He obviously won, but still he quits. Why? Temari thought. She was about to ask why, but Shikamaru beat her up to it. This is just too troublesome. Besides, I don't have enough chakra to continue on. Shikamaru said. Temari just kept staring at Shikamaru's retreating back. The referee too was staring, but then he remembered that he had to declare the winner. The next fight was with Uchiha Sasuke and Sabaku no Kankuro. After several seconds, Sasuke was already at the arena, waiting for his opponent, Sabaku no Kankuro. What the heck is going on? Sasuke wondered. But then another Chunin came to the referee. Sasuke was watching the two. As the Chunin whispered something to the referee, Sasuke could see the referee's reaction. There were shock, surprise, and disbelief. Then the referee sighed. Sasuke saw the Chunin again, but this time he walked away, leaving the referee and him at the arena. Due to the forfeiture of Sabaku no Kankuro, I declare Uchiha Sasuke as the winner in this match. The referee announced. But some would have thought that it would be alright since their prodigy won. But then again, no, some people wanted to see their prodigy fight. It was really unexpected, as Sandaime thought. What are we going to do? The referee thought. He called out the Chunin from a while ago and said, "Go and tell this to the Hokage." Without a second or two, the Chunin poofed out, running to where the other cages were, namely, the Hokage and the Case cage. They want to see Uchiha Sasuke fight Sandaime Hokage repeated. "Hi, Hokage-sama," the Chunin replied. "Fine, but after Uzumaki Naruto's fight. Besides, the exam had not yet ended, am I correct?" The Sandaime said. "It is such a shame that my son backed down against this Uchiha Sasuke," the Case cage said. Sandaime just looked back at the Case cage and sighed. He just continued to watch the next fight, Uzumaki Naruto vs Sabaku no Gaara. The said competitors were not still at the arena. Back at the bleachers, Naruto was still there. He stood up just when the referee started to call out his and Gaara's name. From below, he could see Gaara with crossed arms, staring at him. He was about to fly down, but then someone stopped him by the wrist. Good luck, it was Kurenai. She slowly let him go. Naruto looked back at his Junin sensei, then to his teammates. Before he could proceed at the arena, he casted a small smile and 2 thumbs up at his teammates and sensei as he activated his wings. But, once again, before he could fly down, there was someone seated at his seat. Team 8 could see Naruto's reaction. It was filled with shock, joy, and surprise. They just look where Naruto was currently looking. "Aai, SSS Sen," Naruto stuttered. "Geez, Naruto-kun, you already forgot my name. I just visited you last week or the other week, I can't really remember." Ayeka acted as if she couldn't see Naruto smile. "Sensei." Naruto promptly hugged the said woman while the others in sight were either shocked or just shocked. Hey, enough with the hugging, you have a fight to win on, my back," Ayeka said as she tried to push back the said blonde away. "Ah, does my OL sensei feels her age," Naruto said. "Are you stating that I'm old, Gaki?" Ayeka said with a raised eyebrow. "Why, are you not?" Naruto said with a smirk. I'm only 20 years old, god damn it." Ayeka shot back as she held Naruto by the collar. "Shit," Naruto thought. "Watch the strength," Naruto whispered, repeatedly, as he closed his eyes. He waited for an expected whack coming from his former sensei, but surprisingly it never came. Instead, a small kiss was planted on his cheek. Naruto blinked once, if not, twice. "Good luck," Ayeka said as she let go of Naruto, who flew down to the arena. "That's Naruto's former sensei," Kurenai thought as she glanced at the said woman. She forgot the mere fact that Ayeka was just seated next to her. Meanwhile, back at the arena, Naruto landed and still Gaara had the grumpy look on his face. "I thought you'd never come down," the referee said. "Hee," Naruto chuckled as he scratched the back of his head. "Uzumaki-san," Gaara called. Naruto looked at him, but this time Naruto's facade changed, big time. "Gaara-san," Naruto said. The referee looked at the said competitors. There was something different and similar between them. "Is it just me or it's getting a little hot in here?" Kiba said. "It has begun," Ayeka said in her mind with a smile. Unknown to Ayeka, Kurenai was watching at her. What's she smiling at? Kurenai wondered. Back at the arena, both opponents were observing each other's weaknesses, if any though. "Ready, fight," the referee declared. He immediately moved out of the way just in case these two started to attack each other, but surprisingly, none came. They just stood there, staring with each other. For a good 10 minutes, both competitors were still standing there. It was as if they were statues. What are they waiting for? The referee wondered. But then it just hit him hard. He immediately ran up to the bleachers when he saw something seeping out from both genins. The referee was sure that there's sand coming out from Sabaku no Gaara's gourd, but from Naruto he wasn't sure if it was flames, thus, the color of it was blue. This was the first time Kurenai seen Naruto act like this. She saw her other students, who were watching the whole ordeal, they both had the look as if they had seen the whole thing. Tell me, have you two seen Naruto like this? Kurenai asked in a low voice. Both Hinata and Kiba just nodded in response. Kurenai looked back where Naruto was currently standing. It was as if the said blonde was calling out his own chakra from his body while Gaara had his sand around his body, serving as his defense. It was as if the sand was flowing just like the blue flame Naruto had. Then, it stopped. The sand came barging in. It formed a 20 feet, spike-like shaped sand, which seemed like tentacles. It came rushing towards Naruto. Everybody would have thought that Gaara's attack was a sure kill since it was like 20 feet sand with tentacles by the way. The said attack almost covered the whole arena. Now, everybody wondered how the hell did that sand fitted inside that Genin's gourd. Or some wondered if that blonde Genin was still alive. When the after effects of Gaara's attack were gone, almost everybody cheered when they saw Uzumaki Naruto, standing with his wings activated. There was a certain glow in it as it flowed from his back, and boy, with that act Kurenai could swear there were some girls shouting out Naruto's name. What the heck is he thinking? Kurenai thought. Is that all you got? Naruto said as he uncovered his right arm. It was like what Ayeka said. Don't take it off if you want to faint. Now, he knew what that joke meant. His right arm was covered with black-like markings that seemed like a black dragon since it swirled around his arm. Then, for Naruto's last act, he took off his shirt. After several seconds, there were squeals everywhere coming from the kunoichis inside the arena. But then again, Naruto ignored it. I guess it's my turn. This is for my friend. I hope you can still remember him once I'm done with you. Naruto announced. He literally charged at Gaara, who already had his sand formed like a ball and him inside of it. He managed to land a hit on Gaara's sand. It was a single punch, but it managed to create a little crater on it, probably making the one inside of it a little shaken. Shaken or not, there was definitely something going on inside of it. Naruto could see an eye-like sand figure from above where Gaara was currently hiding. What the heck? Naruto thought. As if on cue, there was a loud boom coming from the west gate. Immediately, Konoha ninjas were definitely alerted. But the next thing caught them off guard. Odo nins started to rain in the whole place. Ayeka stood up from her seat and formed a set of hand seals and shouted. Nimari-chain no jutsu. Soon, genins and villagers started to fall asleep. Only a few was left to fight back against the Odo nins. Meanwhile, Sandaime 2 was at a tight spot. Before him was his former student, Orochimaru. It looks like you already know of my presence, Sarutobi-sensei. I have to admit I'm quite impressed. Orochimaru said with a smirk on his face. I just look old, Orochimaru, don't underestimate me, I'm still your sensei after all. Sarutobi said. That I doubt. Why won't we settle this in an all-out battle? Orochimaru said, but before Sarutobi could reply, Orochimaru immediately charged at the said old man, giving him a continuous series of jabs. But just like what the old man had said, don't underestimate him. In every jab, kick, and punches Orochimaru did, Sarutobi always managed to block, if not, counterattack his every move. Back with Naruto and Gaara's fight, the said sand nin was still inside his barrier, but then Naruto noticed that it started to crack. Soon, he could see Gaara, yet there was something different in him. The color white from his eyes were gone. It was replaced with black. His green eyes were replaced with brown ones. It was as if he looked like a raccoon. Is he transforming into something? Naruto thought. His answer was about to be answered when two familiar ninjas came in front of him. Gaara, go and disengage the next plan. Temari shouted. Gaara didn't reply, he just sprinted up to the forest where he could transform freely. Naruto, on the other hand, was not going to let Gaara go that easily. He was about to run past Temari and Kankuro, but Temari's fan prevented him to it. I really don't have enough time for this, so just let me pass. Naruto said. We were ordered to do this. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, Temari said. Ma, enough with this. He's our enemy, for crying out loud, finish him already. Kankuro said. Just after Kankuro said that, Naruto bring forth his wings. He promptly flew past both sand nins, who were quite taken back when they just remembered that Naruto can fly. Back with the Junins at the stadium, some of the Chunins, Junins, and ANBUs were currently fending off against the Oto nins. It was like they just kept on coming and coming non-stop. Of all, the entire ruckus happening inside Konoha, some ninjas were staring at a lone figure that was presently standing, alone. It was as if the said figure didn't even notice that there were ninjas coming on her way. Haku was about to warn the said woman, but then everybody stopped when they all heard a familiar jutsu. Shirai no jutsu, Ayeka shouted. Everyone who knew the jutsu looked with surprise in their eyes. The last time they've seen the said jutsu, it was being transmitted by Naruto back at Wave Country, and his version was rather small than this one. It was definitely a dragon-shaped lightning, but it was bigger than Naruto's. Without a second or two, half of the Oto nins were dead. From where Ayeka stood, she could see a group of genins following Naruto from behind. A while ago, Haruno Sakura managed to dispel the said genjutsu. She was ordered to awaken any ninja she knew who's capable of fighting against enemy nins. She already awakened 3 genins, namely, Uchiha Sasuke, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino. Currently, Ayeka was still watching the said genin group from where she stood. The Oto nins at the stadium stopped attacking, as the Junins thought, but something caught their eyes, and still, it was Ayeka again. But this time she had something similar to Naruto's. She activated her Kurotenshi Tsubasa. She looked at a certain elite Junin, Yuhi Kurenai. You go after those genins. If my nephew got injured, I will swear to God I will make you his personal nurse. Ayeka commanded. Kurenai was about to run, but Kakashi stopped her first. Wait, he said. Kurenai saw Kakashi formed a set of hand seals and placed his palm at hers and said, "Take this with you." Kakashi said. Thanks, Kurenai said as she looked at the small dog seating on her palm, right palm to be exact. Piece of advice: don't make Ayeka angry. You don't want to see her angry, I tell you, Kakashi said. You know her? Kurenai asked. Details later. You had an order, remember? Kakashi said. After several seconds, Kurenai was jumping up at the trees. In front of her was Pakun, one of Kakashi's dogs. You go after those genins. If my nephew, Ayeka's words rang to Kurenai's head once again. Wait, did she just say nephew? Kurenai asked to no one in particular. Did you say something? Pakun asked. No, I was just thinking about something. Kurenai replied. Then you better stop it for a while, we're getting closer, Pakun said. Meanwhile, Sasuke with his Chidori was charging at Kankuro's puppet, Karasu. It was like a score they have to settle, as Sasuke thought. Now I know why you forfeited at the fight, you were simply afraid of me. Sasuke mocked. He was currently looking at the said sand nin. Take that back, Kankuro shouted. Sasuke thought it was the real Kankuro, but it was just Karasu. Kankuro must have sent his voice so that Sasuke couldn't detect where the said sand nin was. Show yourself, Sasuke demanded. Kankuro would have thought that Sasuke was just looking for him as he gently placed Karasu at Sasuke's back. Immediately, Kankuro opened the said puppet with his chakra strings. Kankuro was trying to trap Sasuke inside of Karasu with success, but that was one mistake he had to learn. Kankuro could hear some loud creaking sound coming from Karasu. It was pretty unusual since there was light seeping through the puppet. Kankuro watched in horror as his puppet, Karasu, was shattered into pieces. What are you without your puppet? Sasuke asked. You should give up, now. Sasuke added. Kankuro sighed as he looked at his damaged puppet. I give up, Kankuro said, not even looking at the Uchiha prodigy. In the meantime, from where Kurenai stood she could see a raccoon-like giant just 5 kilometers away. She sprinted up close to see what was happening, but when she could see almost everything, she couldn't help but to be shocked at the sight. There she could see Haruno Sakura at the tree, glued with Gaara's sand, Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Kiba, both unconscious at the ground. Then there she saw Sasuke with his panting. He had the look as if he was going to faint, and then there's Naruto looking at Sasuke and to the other unconscious genins in sight. Can you carry these two? Naruto asked. Don't tell me, you're going to fight that monster alone. Sasuke said between pants. Don't tell me you're worried for me, Naruto said with a teasing tone. This isn't the right time to joke around, Naruto. Sasuke said. Well, I'm not joking. Here, I'll lend you a clone. Naruto said as he called out a single clone. The said clone managed to free the pink-haired Kunoichi. Would you like me to carry Shino for you? The clone asked. Sasuke just looked at the clone, then to the real Naruto, who flew away fast. Soon, the clone carried Sakura and Shino as he flew past the forest with Sasuke in pursuit. Currently, Naruto was staring at the raccoon-like giant before him. He was thinking of the ways how will he get to fight against this creature. He didn't even know what it was. He remembered the encounter he had with the boss frog. How can I summon him at a time like this? Kuso, I guess I have to try then. Naruto said in his mind. He formed the needed hand seals, bit his thumb to draw some blood, slammed both of his palms, and shouted. Kuchio's no jutsu. Soon, Kurenai could see a huge puff of smoke from where she stood. Before her were two giants, one was a frog and the other was a raccoon. Jiraiya, how dare you summon me at a time like this? Gamabunta shouted. Boss, over here, Naruto shouted as he flew up to the toad's nose. I thought I told you that you can't summon me unless I told you so. Gamabunta shouted again. Yes, but, look over there. Naruto replied as he pointed at the giant raccoon in front of them. Shukaku. Gamabunta roared out the raccoon's name. That thing has a name. Naruto said in his mind. Hey brat, think of this as your test and your time starts now. Gamabunta said. Whenever you're ready, boss. Naruto replied. Try to think of a creature that has claws and fangs and also try to do a little henge trick for me, quick. Gamabunta asked. Naruto was thinking of a creature that was suitable for this situation. He was contemplating whether he should use the Kyuubi no Kitsune form for this or something that looked like a dragon, but then, he made up his mind. Henge, Naruto replied. Soon there was a huge puff of smoke again. The next thing Kurenai saw could possibly made her fall from the tree. Something came out from the puff of smoke. It was like a creature in the mythical stories. This was the first time she'd ever seen a dragon, at its full height and power. Gamabunta, in his dragon form, charged at Shukaku. Gamabunta swirled around like a snake around the giant raccoon as he clawed on its neck. If someone could see them, they would have thought that the dragon was winning from the fight, but then again, Shukaku was one of the tailed beasts just like the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Meanwhile back at the stadium, Ayeka had ordered some of the shinobis to follow her to where their Hokage was fighting against this Kazekager Orochimaru, up to the roof. Everyone noticed this purple-colored barrier and these 4 masked shinobis that seemed to be a pillar of this barrier. They could see from the inside their Hokage forming this genjutsu, the bringer of darkness. Some thought that their cage will win while some thought that their fight will not end soon. But then again, they've noticed Orochimaru formed a set of hand seals and something started to seep out from the ground. At first, it was a coffin, then, another coffin followed. Sarutobi already knew what Orochimaru was trying to do. He immediately stopped the next coffin by the minute. Everybody behind the barrier started to worry for their Hokage, who was now facing against his former senseis, the Shodaime and the Nadaime. If Sarutobi-sama didn't stop the last coffin, he would have come face to face against Minato-kun. I have to do something against this barrier, and fast. Ayeka thought. She noticed those 4 shinobis on each side of the barrier. Ayeka silently motioned both Kakashi and Guy to the northwest, Haku and Asuma to the northeast, Yugao to the east, while Zabuza to the west. Ayeka ordered them to neutralize those 4 shinobis at all cost and fast while she had to do something. Orochimaru was watching both former Hokages fight against his former sensei, who had already called out his summon, Enma. As Orochimaru continued to watch on, he noticed the barrier was starting to fade. Kuso, Orochimaru started to curse himself. He had to do his plan or his revenge against this village he once called home. He noticed that Sarutobi was on a tight spot, literally, he was tied against a tree by the Shodime. Orochimaru dismissed both cages, leaving him and a tied Sarutobi alone. Orochimaru, Sarutobi started. Shish, don't speak, you're just wasting your energy, let me end it for you, Orochimaru said as he brought forth his sword, the Kusanagi, from his mouth. He was able to stab through Sarutobi's shoulder. Without content, Orochimaru did the same with Sarutobi's right and left leg. Blood was already spilling out from Sarutobi's body. The sight was already sadistic and yet Orochimaru was still smiling about it. He wanted to make Sarutobi suffer as he slashed through his body. He wanted to hear him scream in pain and in help. He slowly pulled up the Kusanagi from his limb. Sarutobi could see where Orochimaru would stab him next. Oro, Kai, Sarutobi started once again, hoping that Orochimaru would listen but no. I thought I told you not to speak. Orochimaru yelled. Sarutobi was almost impaled by his former student's next action. Orochimaru raised up the Kusanagi, ready to stab Sarutobi at the chest. Sarutobi, who was unable to defend himself, he was still thinking about Konoha, the villagers, his past students, his past senseis, his son, his grandson, his successor, the ninjas of his home village, and then Konoha again. Sarutobi closed his eyes and waited for his fate being pulled away by his own student. Surprised to say, he saw black, as in black wings. Before him was Ayeka, shielding him from Orochimaru's attack. Surprised, Orochimaru. Ayeka said in a teasing tone. But before Orochimaru could reply, he was immediately wrapped by Ayeka's wings, something that the shinobis hadn't seen before. Sarutobi, who was still conscious, saw how Ayeka managed to incapacitate his former student, Orochimaru. After several seconds, Ayeka let Orochimaru go. He was panting hard. Orochimaru was about to cast a jutsu but he noticed he couldn't. What did you do to me? He shouted on his knees. Ayeka smirked from where she stood. She didn't even reply, she just walked in front of the snake Sanin and held him by the head. She looked at his snake-like eyes. Sarutobi was watching from where he sat. He wasn't sure what was Ayeka doing but he was sure it wasn't pretty, as though he thought. Ayeka was looking at Orochimaru in the eyes but once she let go of her former sensei, Orochimaru passed out and so is Ayeka. Currently with Naruto and Gamabunta vs Gaara and Shukaku. Kurenai was still watching from the distance and there she saw Naruto on top of Gamabunta in dragon form still fighting against Sabaku no Gaara with Shukaku in his ultimate defense form. Brat, this is getting nowhere, you have to wake that Tanuki so that Shukaku will be forced back. Do it fast. Gamabunta commanded. With that said, Naruto flew down to where Gaara stood. He was about to land a hit on him but Shukaku's sand got him first. Naruto was forcing himself out with the use of his wings but the more he struggled, he could feel a part of his wings started to crack. It was like the bones in his wings started to crack from the pressure being emitted by Shukaku, Gaara's sand. Soon he felt that the pressure was starting to fall down but then he noticed that he was covered by tongue-like barrier and then there he saw Gamabunta, holding him. Gamabunta tossed Naruto at the air and said, "Don't fail this time you brat." Naruto was thrown to the air but noticed that Gamabunta suddenly poofed away. He was close to Gaara and Shukaku's sand started to attack him just like a while ago but Naruto charged up his chakra through his eyes, forming a genjutsu around his body, making himself invisible, as Kurenai thought. She was still watching the whole fight. From the distance, she could see Naruto landed a hit on that sand nin, Sabaku no Gara. Shukaku screamed as he felt that he was losing control over his vessel and that Gara was starting to rouse up. Naruto landed on a nearby tree just close to where Kurenai was standing just a while ago. He noticed that the earth was starting to shake as he watched Shukaku fall down and turn into a sand. Naruto. He heard someone called out. Naruto turned around and saw his Junin sensei, Yuhi Kurenai, standing 20 meters away from him. But then, the earth started to crumble again. He immediately flew through her direction and carried her as fast as he can, making sure to get away from what was about to happen. Kurenai was about to say something, but she suddenly noticed that their flight was somewhat starting to slow down and something unexpected happened as they land. Naruto started to fall unconscious, but he managed to take the fall instead. From where they landed, they couldn't see Shukaku anymore, but instead they could see the Konoha gate from the distance. Naruto was a little droopy, but Kurenai was telling him not to fall asleep since he was going to get a concussion or something. Naru-kun, wake up, you have to stay awake, Naru-kun. Kurenai shouted his name when she saw he was starting to fall asleep again. Kurenai decided to carry him since they were close to the gate and hopefully they could get help from there. Naru-kun, are you awake? Kurenai asked, making sure that Naruto doesn't fall asleep. Hi, Naruto whispered. His eyes were focused at the floor since his head was low. He noticed that he was being carried, semi-dragged since the floor he was looking at was moving. Say, I feel so sleepy, Naruto yawned. Naru-kun, you have to stay awake, you hear me? Naru-kun, Kurenai said. She noticed that his weight doubled slightly. She slowly dropped him on the ground and on Naruto's face was a smile, a small smile he carried for her. Naru-kun, Kurenai shook the said genin but he didn't stir or something. Naru-kun, she tried again but nothing happens. Naru-kun, she said again. No reply. Kurenai shook him again. Once again nothing happens.